huge congrats on this series, guys. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, no,
I was so surprised to learn when I was looking into it that all these people are actually loosely based on real people. I'd love to know a little bit, just in your own words, about your character and also how closely they are related to the person in history.
London, the Lion's Den. Don't matter if you were raised here or you just got here. You learn to fight. Or this city will swallow you whole.
Yeah, they are based on real people, do you know what I mean? But as far as we know, these three never ever met each other.
Okay.
And then that's the genius of Steve. You know, what a wonderful writer. He takes these three people who existed in this point of time and creates this wonderful world where they all exist and cohabit together.
Yeah.
And Steve, I remember Steve saying, you can't get no better fiction than fact itself. So he's looked into, and as we did separately, you know, our research into the characters and into who these people were. And then Steve's just created this wonderful world and threw them right in the middle of this melting pot, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And we have this wonderful journey together.
Yeah. I was particularly interested in Mary's story.
Yeah.
And like the 40 elephants, and like I had no idea about them. They're so cool, this like all-female gang.
My name is Mary Cobb, Queen of the 40 Elephants. The biggest gang of female thieves in the whole of London.
Where did your research start with that? Were you familiar with them?
I had no idea they existed. So when I went in for the meeting, like that was the big hook for me. Like that was ultimately what I wanted to just keep talking about rather than actually do the scenes. I was like, I can't believe these women were real, and I wanted to really dig into, as you say, like their history. And so there's actually not that much out there about them. So I kind of bought all the books that I could, but really that kind of just gave me like a timeline of the things that they'd done. But as Stephen said, like it then actually opened up the doorway for a lot of creation, which was, I think, the perfect balance of fact and fiction, and really going, oh, okay, well, I understand that this woman did this at this time. Who is that? And then I got to bring my own imagination to it, which was a real gift. But yeah, I couldn't believe that we haven't heard about these women and what they did and how successful they were. They were genuinely really, really good at their jobs, and they took it with the same seriousness that a doctor would. And so I really kind of thrived and relished bringing that element to who they were.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool that like from that time period, usually like female stories that we see are usually like queens or, you know what I mean, like nobility, but it's so cool to see, I guess, like just a average everyday kind of woman. Was that kind of empowering? It was, and I think for me the biggest like thing that I took away or really, really loved about them was the fact that their gender never really came into it. Like, as you say, there are so many roles out there at the minute, or like through history, that have been based around women speaking about their specific female lens on something. And actually what was really refreshing about this, and what Stephen Knight, the writer, did, which was so incredible, was that he just took that off the table, and they're just human beings, and they never really, that didn't factor in, like the fact that they were women doing this was never an issue. They just wanted to be the best regardless of gender. And it's actually quite rare to get to play someone who'd never thought about their sex. It was really, really refreshing, and I'm really grateful that I got to play her and bring her to people's screens. Is really exciting. Yeah, she's so cool. I was like, they're bad, but I was rooting for them. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? You love them. Yeah. But again, like I say, there's something about witnessing women just really owning who they are and wanting to.
That was always the intention of the intention when we first started creating it, was to create this gang of women that everybody would want to be a part of. Do you know what I mean? Irrespective of be you a man or be you a woman. Exactly. Because ultimately, these three characters in this world, on a daily basis, are just trying to survive. Do you know what I mean? That's basically it. If you look at the time and the conditions people lived in. So we're all just trying to survive, basically. And then, obviously, you have this wonderful gang of 40 elephants, and they're unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? They bring colour, they bring humour, they bring pain, they bring anger, they bring everything to the page. And she, with the other women are just phenomenal in them roles. You know what I mean? In them roles, they're magnificent.
I love them. More for the elephants is great.
Yeah.
And Malachi, congratulations on this as well. I think it's so cool. I would love to chat a bit about all of your accents now. I mean, you're in this like Jamaican accent. How was it for you to pick that up? And was there any words in particular which I always find interesting that are particularly difficult to say in the accent?
My name is Hezekiah Masco, and I am here to fight like my people are watching.
Not so much for me, just because it's my background. But I wouldn't say I had any references, which is interesting, because usually when I'm playing a character that has an accent that's not my own, I have someone to listen to. And I didn't do that with this one, actually. But I did spend some time in Jamaica.
Nice.
So I guess that's a bit of a cheat. And I was just kind of soaking up the energy. I was there for a couple of weeks before we started shooting. But other than that, it was just drawing from the sound that I know and working with Hazel Holder, who was a voice coach, and she was incredible. Just to help me to tune into it, because it's Jamaican, but it's 1800s. Do you know what I mean? So there's language there that actually isn't used anymore.
Okay.
You know,
Such as any kind of words in particular, or?
Oh, you're testing me now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's definitely like certain phrases I wanted to use that I couldn't. Certain cuss words that I wanted to use that I couldn't because it just didn't exist. And that are modern. Yeah. So that was fun playing with that.
Yeah, so you have to kind of trick your brain. I guess as well for you, Stephen, like you quite infamously have a thick Scouse accent. How was it picking up the Cockney and any words in particular that were harder to get your mouth around?
Very similar. The authenticity that Malachi brings, for us it was integral to make sure that accent was represented properly throughout our series, do you know what I mean? And we had some deep conversations right at the very beginning, didn't we? Yeah. Because we wanted to remain true to who these people really were, do you know what I mean? And Malachi did an amazing job in that respect, do you know what I mean? And it was difficult, but you brought that integrity and that honour to those people and to that character, do you know what I mean? Completely, with the accent, which is a huge part of it. For me personally, I was lucky I had people on set that I could, that helped me. But also, it's kind of finding that tune, and I had a great voice coach as well. Sarah was a wonderful voice coach for me. But what I did was I watched a lot of films, and to me, Bob Hoskins is one of my idols and one of my heroes. So I watched a lot of Bob Hoskins films, and I watched a lot of Ray Winston movies, and for me it was just trying to amalgamate those kind of characters, you know what I mean, and make this kind of stoic man. Look, Stephen wears his heart on his sleeve, do you know what I mean? I'm very soppy, as Diesel vouch for me, do you know what I mean? But to play a man of few words and someone who had that kind of physicality and kind of stoic in a sense, for me was a huge challenge. Yeah. So it was an absolute joy. It was a wonderful, I'm not just saying it, but it was a wonderful job to be a part of.
It really was.
I think I have time to squeeze in one more. I loved obviously the boxing, fighting element of it. I'd love to know, what was it like for the two of you? I'm glad you're in the middle, Erin, separating them out.
This is great.
Going head to head, before you step in that ring to shoot those scenes, what's going through your head?
And may the good Lord have mercy on your soul!
Do you know what? The first time that we entered into this ring, in fact, before we even entered into the ring, but we entered into the room, and the blue coat boy, there's this energy. I don't know if you remember that, that first day, and you've got the guys banging the drums, and you've got people breathing fire, and it's like full of essays, like the room is full, and you didn't have to pretend. It was like, oh, okay, this is it. Do you know what I mean? I've never been to a boxing match or fought, but I felt like, okay, this must be something like what it feels like, that excitement and that buzz. So for me, it was incredible. And then actually first getting into the ring, because the essays were so incredible in this job.
In the background.
They were so supportive, and they were just so in it. Like, they were just in it. Like, I didn't look at one person and not believe them. Do you know what I mean? Everyone just suddenly was in the world. So it was very easy in that sense to just come into that reality of, okay, cool, I'm a boxer and I'm about to do my first fight, and anything could happen, you know.
But what you see is the end of months and months and months and months of preparation. Do you know what I mean? From the physical element of it to the choreography, because we spent 3-4 months in our boxing ring in the studio where we learnt the fight. So each move is meticulous and it's choreographed to within an inch of perfection. So we try our best to get it right then, do you know what I mean? And make it truthful and authentic. But back in the day, I remember in the gym when we were coming up with the fights, and we brought a lot of our own styles as well as the characters. You know, speak for yourself, but you began your fighting from a different place than where you landed when you finished, didn't you?
For sure, yeah.
Because he was more of a...
This is the thing, like, he wasn't a fighter. Well, he wasn't a boxer when he started, you know. He had an instinct and he had an intelligence emotionally, and he had an awareness of himself and how to handle himself. But he wasn't a seasoned boxer. He wasn't a professional. He wasn't. And so I had some kind of license, because I haven't boxed either before this, to not have to be a boxer, if that made sense, and just kind of fight his way through it. And his style adapted, you know. So when you first see him, it's like it's defensive and it's just basically get out of the way and dance.
It's like kind of dancing capoeira, wasn't it? Basically,
that,
running around the ring.
Yeah,
a little bit like Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
In many aspects.
Yeah, that was one of the references.
Yeah.
And then after that, it adapts. You know, as he learns how to box and learns the technique, and his friend Alec helps him out. He learns the science of it, and so it was fun just kind of adapting different styles.
Seeing that journey was amazing as well, and I do have to wrap up now, lads. I think I could talk about this series for like half an hour, but huge congratulations, so nice to meet you all, and best of luck. I'm excited for it to be released into the world.
Thank you, lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice one.